Welcome to Chino Y Chicano.
I'm Matt Chan, the Chino.
And I'm Enrique Serna, the Chicano. And we are coming to you from Mojito Restaurant, just off of Lake City Way. And Matt and I had lunch here last week.
Yes, we did.
It was pretty good, right? And so we got together for lunch, and then the owner, a guy named Luam Wersom, shows up. Of course, he gives me a hard time because I've got WSU gear on.
As he should.
Yeah. Okay. And we're in Husky country. But we got to talking to him. And remember, we've been thinking about doing a program about how those people of color that own small restaurants, how they survived COVID. Mm-hmm. And in meeting Luam, he started telling us the story. And then we looked into him a little bit and we realized, this guy's got one hell of a story.
Well, and it was also the pivot to community kitchens.
Right.
And people don't really understand what that was about. And I think it'll be interesting to talk to him about that.
Right. Because the one thing that happened, and it's still going on, is that a number of restaurants that are owned by people of color in this community really stepped up to help their communities in this time, making sure that they were going to be fed, but at the same time trying to stay alive as a business.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the fat cat white restaurants, right? The fancy ones, they folded instantly.
Right.
But the mom and pops, the immigrant-owned businesses, they struggle to survive because, guess what? They have no choice.
Right. And I think their communities also stepped up to help them in many ways to make sure that they were going to continue to be in operation because they depended on them culturally as well as getting food. Anyway, we're lucky right now to have Luam Wersom join us. He is the chef and the owner of Mojito. It's a great Latin American restaurant. Thank you, Luam, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Right. Well, we mentioned that, you have a really fascinating background, which we're going to get to. But how did you manage to deal with COVID and at the same time keep your operation going?
Was definitely helped out being a working owner. Mojito is my full-time, 7 days a week business. It's not my side gig, or I don't do other adventures outside my business. And to find out, epidemic, and knowing that place are getting shut down, all the years I spent here volunteering, giving back, it kind of helped me, and people came back to support for all the giving I've been doing for the last 22 years.
Yeah, you're truly a community restaurant. People know you here.
I don't forget what I started, and I don't try to go chase other people's dreams. I just keep staying in my lane, and through good times and bad times, I just been, doing what I love.
So how long have you been part of Mojito?
I started Mojito through the construction work when it first opened.
When it first opened? Wow. How long ago was that?
22 years ago.
Wow.
And then I got a dishwashing job doing dishes.
Wow.
And then Mojito expanded. There was a downtown Mojito, University District. And as business partners separated, I got offered management and ownership. Throughout the years, I ended up buying out the fourth partner about 6-7 years ago. So I became a sole owner,
Nice.
and allow me to navigate the business the way I like it. And it has a, I don't know how I got here. Maybe
Well, you know what to me is fascinating is you sound Latino, right? But you're Ethiopian. So how does an Ethiopian guy run a successful South American cuisine restaurant? I mean, that to me was mind-blowing.
I always tell them Columbus discovered America, right? I fight with that all the time, I got my own people telling me I have an accent. I have my customers tell me I have an accent. So I'm like a no man's land right now.
But, actually, you're international. You're global because you fit everything. So tell us about where you grew up and how you got here to the States.
I got here through sponsorship. Pretty much, my parents, we all grew up in Ethiopia. When the Civil War broke, my parents were Eritrean. So, We were refugee in Greece for about 4.5 years. And we got sponsored out of the camp. So we left the refugee camp in 93. And pretty much came to Dallas for 5 months and moved to Seattle. Lived in Ballinger Homes, King County Housing Authority, low-income housing. And that's one of the big reasons for me to, when the epidemic started, that we were giving back to specifically to low-income seniors, different part of the housing King County Housing Authority owns, because I lived in low-income housing personally, and I seen it with my own 2 eyes, And I had a lot of people reaching out to me to support, to give back, and I told them no handouts for me, but if you want to support me, let's feed the low-income seniors. And right after that, we teamed up with Mercy Housing, YMCA. We teamed up with the Housing Authority, and now we're working with the University Food Bank.
Wow. Did you speak English when you came to the States?
Broken English. So I remember my teacher told me that if I wanted to learn English, I need to go ahead and play and have fun. If forget about learning, just go have fun, and you learn it that way,
Is that what happened?
So that's exactly what happened.
Wow, that's great.
So was that just like hanging with people or whatever you did or what?
At the beginning was a little bit difficult because I was through a lot of ESL programs, and at that point, Cambodian, Cuban, Venezuela, Russian, Romanian, we were just all of us in the same class. So you could tell who had a good upbringing and good education, who really didn't speak it, but they were really good at writing. And some people were really good at writing, but zero speaking. So we're all of us mixed in the same class.
And how did it go for you? Did you just pick it up quickly, or did it take some time?
I picked it up quickly, in sports. I ran track, played basketball. So sports kind of.
You're a Garfield Bulldog.
I'm a middle school Garfield Bulldog.
All right.
We actually also, my old teammate friend, Trey Simmons, we teamed up and we fed 500-600 people and gave away backpacks back to school. And, it's truly fulfilling. It's truly fulfilling to know that you do something that is so easy for me to do, but it brings so much life and happiness to others. It's a fulfilling thing,
So how hard was it when the pandemic hit and you had to close down and pivot to takeout? How heavy a burden was that for your business?
I remember Sunday night, somebody told me New Jersey was shut down. I'm like, oh, no problem. New Jersey's far away from here. The next thing you know, by Wednesday, we were shut down. And pretty much we had to go buy every single plastic cup, paper cup, just, never in my wildest dream that I'd be serving food outside the window, and luckily our food does good traveling. I'm sure a lot of restaurants out there are not, the food is not meant to go. But I have done so many weddings and funerals and birthdays that people can afford that I help them out with. It's mind-boggling that how many people cared and brought us cards and order food 3 times a week or 4 times a week just to support us. It's kept pretty much 90% of my staff, and it's been a blessing. It helps to be small.
Yeah.
I remember people see me busy Friday nights, Saturday nights, and they tell me, please, open a bigger place or go downtown, and you could do 10 times better. But we done that before, and I seen it, and I prefer to have a place as a community sense than just to push something up people's throats,
Yeah.
Right.
When you talk about community, one of the things that you pivoted to, and a number of restaurants in Seattle pivoted to this, to a community kitchen. What is that?
Community kitchen is something that should have been happening a long time ago to me. It's not only that they help restaurants, but they also help local farmers. Local farmers have all this product that just sits there, and they're hurting too because their season's coming right after them, And so for us to use local farmers and and to use a product to feed the university food banks and different food banks, it's unbelievable, you know.
So you would get excess food that was sourced and then cook it for people, and
Cook it for people.
and then how would you distribute the food?
We put it in microwave safe containers. I spoke to the university food bank, and they said, "Hey, when the epidemic starts slowing down, there's no food. Every morning you go there, there's a waiting line." And I said, you know, it was important to me not only to cook food, but to cook a healthy food. Use food as medicine instead of trying to give them starch and bread and butter. We give them a healthy food, microwave safe, ready to go at the moment, and to know that the food is going to people that just really need it. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
Every Monday until October, we're going to be a university food bank, and they see when my truck comes, you know, it's unbelievable. I come from a culture where you respect your elders, and when you see a lot of elders waiting outside that really looking forward to the food, it makes you realize how selfish we are sometimes in a certain way, that we have it good, you know, we're healthy, we're here, you know, we just got to keep, instead of pointing finger, I tell people just help, do some good deeds around, you know, give a coworker a ride home or cut the neighbor's grass, and good things come to you, you know.
Yeah.
When you were a dishwasher here, did you ever imagine that you would one day be an owner and be doing what you're doing now?
I remember, even now when I think about it, it's like, wow, if I offer my employee $500 every 2 weeks to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner and karaoke and work, and back then we didn't have a dishwasher. Even some of the plantains, some of the yucca, some of the sweet plantains, there was no option with Cisco and there's all these food purveyors. They didn't have that option. Everything had to be chopped by hand. Everything had to be smashed by hand. And it's love what you do. I think when you love what you do, money will chase you. You don't have to chase money, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing it, I know people that are making 10 times what I do, but I see them, they're miserable. You know, they don't, you know, they do other things to gratify themselves, and it doesn't work like that, you know?
It's got to be a passion, I think, you know, in what you do and how you do it. Otherwise, it's not enjoyable to be in life. That's for sure.
You know, it's...
So how did you, do you speak Spanish?
Poquito.
Un poquito,
Sí.
okay, because, you know, you're employees,
Oh, yeah.
obviously. But how did you learn how to do the meals of Latin America? I know, you know, there's Cuban meals, there's sandwiches, there's the stuff that Matt and I ate was just incredible. Venezuelan food, all of these things.
It's to travel, you know. It's if I go to Venezuela, I make sure that I spend a week somebody's kitchen. I say 80% of the menu was done through suggestions.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. I sat down here and wrote it down by my, you know, it was suggestions and constantly trying to open up the menu. Our black beans used to have a sausage and bacon, but we just started making a sofrito-based black beans, so all the vegans could enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
We start putting chicken stock on the rice, so it opens up the menu. I could tell you that when the restaurant closes, the only allergy we don't hit is water. I mean, we're constantly modifying, you know, when somebody wants a Cuban sandwich without the bread.
Uh-huh.
And it just, you know, you just wrap it with the lettuce and
Right,
you know,
right, yeah.
just constantly modifying. People want to eat good food, but they don't want to wait too long. You know, and it's amazing that people feel like they're eating something they'll cook at home.
Yeah.
Simple ingredients. It's not really, when you look at the dish, it's not complicated. We make our own marinade. We make our own sugar water. We make our own dressings. Our own, you know, we cut our own meats up. You know, we don't try to use frozen French fries. We actually chop our own French fries.
Right.
You know, having a location that we have, I just don't want to take shortcuts. You know.
Right.
Well, the food is incredible here for people that have never experienced it, they should come here. But you were telling me something that when the Mariners have, the teams come into town, the Latin players come here to eat.
Oh,
That's amazing.
I already have the Houston Astros locked down right now.
Oh, really?
Well, okay. Maybe you feed them a little something different. But
And I'll tell you, the strength and conditioning coaches, the trainers, started placing order through us. And pretty much sometimes I have to make breakfast before game, after game. I have to be in the stadium 3 times in one day.
so do you cook at the stadium? Or do
I
you
cook. We cook here. We have
and you bring it there.
We bring it there, and the Dominicans order a mango, the Venezuelans, their pabellon, the Puerto Ricans order the mofongo.
That's crazy.
And some of this product, like the Dominican salamis, I have to import it from New Jersey, for example, because Seattle doesn't have it.
How did they find you?
The Jeff Bob, the visiting team manager, called me and said, "Hey, a lot of Latin players are requesting mojito food, and would you be interested in doing it?" And literally, when I hung up the phone, I see him. He pulled over right here.
Oh, wow.
And so, but now it's just been copy and paste. We've been doing it the last 6 years. And
So do the players love the food? They enjoy it?
oh, I have to pretty much run away from some of the players because they want me to go to their house and cook for. I said, look, I'm not gonna cook for 3 people, and it's just beans and rice. It's
Yeah.
Well, how about the Latin players on the Mariners? Do they come in? Are they regulars?
It's amazing. I find it weird that I don't deal with too much with the Mariners. It's just been whole visiting team.
Really? They
Yeah.
just know of you.
Omar, the old times, Freddie Garcia, Jose Lopez, Carlos Guillen, Luis Rugerto, all those guys, they were regular Mojito, And in fact, 5-6 years ago when I started doing this, I was so pumped up. I went to my Instagram like everybody else, Mojito, cooking for Major League Baseball, thank you Red Sox, and boom, boom. The next thing I know, people commenting, you should put lactose in their food and this and that. So after that, I don't post anything anymore. I just keep it to myself.
Right. Yeah. That's going to be just a really a kind of a great honor in the sense that, they know of your restaurant for one thing, but they want the food because they know it's good.
It's a weird dilemma because not only that I deal with all the players, but to know that I'll come in, do my food, and I just leave, right? I don't. A baseball player does not want to talk about baseball when he's not playing.
Right.
Right. That's the last thing they want to hear, And so we try to keep it like very professional. No matter how many times they invite me to their house, I don't go. I just drop food and go home and just keep. I stay in my lane,
Yeah. Right. You don't want to bug them for an autograph or anything. You just want to give them their good food.
Food.
Yeah.
And this is their time to enjoy and relax. And it's a harsh sport. They travel all the time.
Right.
And so I don't want to be part of the, me now and do this for me, So I don't want them to feel that,
But it's also probably helps them just to have a meal that they can relate to from home.
Oh, they're home.
But it's also healthy because
they're homesick,
Right.
We even do the
Even when they're home, they're homesick because it's not their country,
It's not
right?
their home. Yeah.
these guys they come young, guys like Felix, 14, 15. So imagine that, I even did Jose Moreno out of Aqua Sox up in Everett also. And once I started doing that, it was an eye opener for me because, wow, you go on the road 160 something games, and you have to be that particular person because I think that an average of us, we travel somewhere, we come back, we miss our own beds,
Right.
And so definitely it's a niche,
Yeah, and they're young kids too.
Right.
They're definitely kids, man. They're not only they're kids, but they deserve to be kids, but now the only difference is they're under the microscope,
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure, tremendous pressure to perform and to live up reputation-wise, but also if you're getting paid huge bucks, the pressure's there as well.
But there's nothing like sitting down to a meal that you recognize.
It's when you see them act like a kid eating the food or fighting for one piece of arepa, you know, I say, listen, you know, I could make you a bathtub full of that. You can afford it, but it's, you know, and then also we do, don't mean to break the bad news for you, but we have a specific tablet from University of Washington, and it's called the Red Card, right? So all the athletes coming from UW here,
Right.
they eat whatever they want, and all we have to do is take a picture of the receipt and send it.
Oh, nice.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice.
Okay, I can show you my husky card here.
He's a duck.
I'm a duck, but I teach at the UW, so I'm both.
Well, maybe I could convince some WSU people to come here, you know, when they're in town.
You need a cougar card.
There you go. That's it. That we do. Your family, are your parents still alive?
yeah, you know, my I have two brothers, and I have a sister. You know, my sister graduated at Western. My two brothers, they went in a complete different route. You know, they both were Marines.
Wow.
They did the, well, you know, Fallujah, Kuwait, Okinawa. They've been all over. My older brother's working with my dad. They have a semi truck transportation company. And my little brother is working in a hospital. He's like a director. He hired nurses and he hires doctors, and so we all doing a completely different things, you know.
And your mom and dad, where are they?
My mom and dad, they live in Linwood.
Wow.
Yeah.
The coming to a new country for them as well. How hard was that?
You know, it's truly humbling to know that they left their beautiful house, left everything they had worked for, and their friends, their careers, and to come here and start all over again. You know, I remember my dad working at AM/PM, you know, and we were so happy he brings us a Slurpee, you know, and to see him working at an AM/PM and my mom working in old people's homes, and you know, she went to school. She worked for Boeing for a little bit. My mom and she worked for a company in Ballard. They fabricate a certain part that the planes use.
Right.
You know, I think it was like laser water cut it, you know, to make it. But it's humbling for people who start from the bottom all over again, you know. You know, it's like I used to love reading obituaries, you know. It's to see somebody that came from the war, went to school, moved to Denver, started a company, and now we have a culture where everybody wants to sell a T-shirt and make it. Or I see my Uber drivers, you know, you just all you have to do is open your app and there goes, you know, you can make $30 an hour. It's amazing, you know. Then you don't want to work anymore, turn off the phone and go home. So there's so many options out there that is so easier, you know. I remember I took my dad's suit and I tried to apply at Larry's Market. They told me I was too young, you know.
How old were you?
I was like 13. You know,
That's against the law.
yeah. And so I started working for as a program. It's called SYEP, is a summer youth employment program. So I was going to school 3 hours, and my job was at Discovery Park, you know, buffing the in their reservation they have over there, Discovery Park.
Right.
And then I started working at Frankfurters. So I worked for Frankfurters for quite a while, you know, doing all their sugar water, you know, for their lemonade. And
did you have to wear the uniform?
oh my God, man. You know, but I learned how to work on compressors, on refrigeration. I learned, you know, how to make the sugar water. So to this day, I make our own sugar water in the house for my mojitos, right? I know how to change the belt on the hood, you know, just little things that, you know, take out a grease trap, replace it, you know. It's I remember, you know, sometimes restaurants around here call me when their belt breaks.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Because you know how to do it.
I just go in and change the belt, and you know, and I tell them, hey, you need to clean the hood every 3 months because fire. You know, you don't want that grease sitting there. You know.
What did your mom and dad do in Your country.
My mom was she worked for a company called Fiat, the car. You know,
Oh, yeah.
My mom was an electrical engineer, and my dad was a
Wow.
spare part guy for Fiat. So my dad actually speaks fluent Italian, and we always knew they were talking behind our back when they're. So yeah, both my parents were. You know, there's nobody that doesn't know my dad here in Seattle. You know.
But then you have to come to a new country and start all over again.
Oh man, you know, not only to start all over again, it's. I remember one time, my parents got called to come to school, and I was like, oh man, I thought end of the world, you know. And then I see the two coaches looking at me, and they gave me an AAU jersey, you know. So I say, you call my parents to give me an AAU jersey, you know? Although I was just sweating for 2 hours, just thinking like, oh man. But it's definitely back home, you know, it's kind of like there's not middle class, right? Either you're not gonna work at Safeway in 6 months, become a manager.
Right.
It doesn't work like that, you know. And same thing in Greece. You know, in Greece was you know, you gotta either after 6th grade you're going to college or you're going to trade school. That's just nobody's gonna hope you become a lawyer. They don't do that thing, you know, because you can't afford it.
So do you have kids?
I have a daughter.
Ah.
Yeah.
And what do you want for her?
Oh, she wants to work with me. She said, and I said, why is that? Because you could come and leave work whenever you feel like it. You know, I was like, wow.
How old is she?
She's 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'll tell her nanny she misses me, and she don't miss me. She wants to come here and get free dessert every day after school. You know, it's like,
yeah.
but it's definitely the technology that we have is a luxury. But I feel like now, if you invite me to your house and you don't text me your address, the first thing I do is put in GPS. I'm not trying to read the streets. You know, the phone corrects your spelling. You want to learn how to make a pie? You have to read a book, mess it up 10 times before you figure out. Now you could just watch a YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, so things change, you know.
Yeah. What else do you want to do?
I want people to know that you gotta love what you do. You could get away with it for 6 months, 6 years, 8 years, but if you truly do not love what you do, it's gonna wreak out. It's gonna show in a different way, and also everybody is made so special that you're truly not gonna know who you really are unless you give it 100%. Never in my wildest dream thought I'd be here 22 years, you know? And my mind does not comprehend what's 40 hours a week. So I have to force myself, you know? This is my 3rd Tuesday off. Never had a Tuesday off in 22 years, never had a day off in 22 years, but now I take this day off to do errands and copies and clean, pressure wash, whatever I need to do. I have this one day.
Yeah.
To do podcasts.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, I'm looking at you right now, but I'm looking at my floor. I need to pressure wash the floor, you know, and it just...
It's endless when you own your own business.
That's right.
You gotta truly love it and be humble, because anything could be taken away in a split, you know. I see the way my dad is, how hard he works. To this day, like sometimes when I buy clothes, I say, no, that's too fancy. I don't like, you know, like you're not gonna catch me with a Louis Vuitton belt, because I never saw my dad that way.
Mm-hmm.
My dad does so many things for the community. He bought cars for people, paid medical bills, and it makes me realize like what's fulfilling is helping others, you know.
Right.
And I just see that the more people that I know that I see that have everything, but they still like want to talk to you, you know, they want to just go have a coffee or go for a walk, you know, those are the truly what matters, you know. I don't think we take anything with us, you know.
So when you come here, the place isn't very big, but you know, you're kind of right here when you order your food and you sit down. But I also noticed that you have some drums over here and that percussion stuff. I take it there's music here.
Oh, we used to do a lot of music before COVID, and now my musicians are big time, so I have
Yeah.
to, I have a guy who Spanish Harlem signed them, and, I have a good friend of mine, Blake Lewis, he took number 2 in American Idol.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Good friend.
Beatboxer.
Yeah, good friend of mine. I should call him have beatbox right now if you guys want. But at the same time, like we stopped doing group of 20s, group of 30s on a Friday, Saturday nights because I have to constantly say no to that because I want to make sure people have an experience of sitting here and eating instead of putting group of 20 restaurants
Yeah.
shut down.
Right.
Because the main clientele are the people in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Because they're the one who support you day in, day out.
And I was invited to Four Seasons last week ago, and it was pretty much a lot of landlords were there. Tom Douglas was there, and the Tom what's name Freeman was there from the guy who's building all the skyscrapers in Bellevue, and I'm just sitting down there listening to Tom Douglas and 1982, 83. They got some money from family and they opened a restaurant and the landlord here is a friend of his, so he gave him a break, and he let go 900 employees. Didn't hire most of them back because they can't afford them, And I'm thinking to myself like, no, nobody helped us here. I don't, hey, he deserved to get a loan, amazing guy, but hey, I don't have a PPP loan or Mojito is completely 100% off grid the whole time.
Really?
With no grants, no nothing that we touched because I felt like my business was doing good, and I felt like that's for people who really need it. And
Like Tom Douglas.
it's there's one thing to say you're set for life, and it's one thing to say you cannot afford your employees to have them back. So what's right and what's wrong?
Yeah.
And for me, I have to do what's right by my employees. They didn't choose to be here. We hired them to be here, right? And so you have to give it 100% for them,
Right.
Sometimes I have maybe 8 checks in my car sitting here because I got to make sure everything gets handled, We get broken to here constantly and and do I pay that $1,500 for the door or do I call my insurance every 2 weeks? So you have to, constantly. But yeah, it's been, and my landlord was actually a blessing. I feel like landlord's been through the washer and dryer these days, and my landlord has been consistent with me for the last 22 years.
Nice.
And it's kind of like
That's very rare.
very rare, very rare. He put himself in a position where when I was having problems with a business partner, he shouldn't be involved. But I always take care of this place like it's mine, and I feel like I'm good at my job. I feel like I'm good at my job because I leave my house scared every day.
Yeah.
And that keeps you on the edge all the time. And
Well, that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you, because good people are hard to find.
It's all natural here.
Yeah.
100%, not just the food,
and
but the
you've
way you
done
run the
such
business.
an incredible job for the community. Then we thank you for your service here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
One last thing. Anything you want to say before we sign off here?
I would like to thank my customers. I'd like to thank my customers for always calling and checking and driving by and constantly going out of their way, because without the customers, without them coming here out of the way to make sure that this place survives, because they had engagement party here, weddings here, funerals here, any baby showers, we go on, and to make sure that something that is a sentimental place for them and they want it to be around, and we're gonna keep it around just for them too, because they deserve it.
Well, Luam Wersom, the owner and the chef here at Mojito, a Latin American restaurant, 7545 Lake City Way, Northeast Seattle. By the way, what is your favorite food here?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
French fries.
Okay. I'm down with that.
All right.
You spend all day in the kitchen, and that's what you crave.
Yeah.
French fries.
Little snack.
You know,
But you make them for yourself, right?
I do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Luam. Thank you for taking the time and letting us come in here and invade
thanks for
your
taking your
space.
Tuesday.
But yeah.
It's a pleasure and a joy.
All
You
right.
know, it's you guys. You know, things like this what gives us a lifeline. You know.
Right. Well, good luck and come and visit Mojito and eat here because it is tremendous. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.